not for everyone.
It's not for everyone.
My parents went to see it. They didn't like it.
Yeah. It's okay. Nothing wrong with your parents.
Thanks,
I've always said
thanks,
that.
thanks.
And I've always said that.
We're back in the UK, back from Sundance. Here we are in a normal Pulp Kitchen podcast setting.
And what a trip it was.
What a trip indeed.
Go and listen to our, not just last week's episode where we recorded it from my hotel room in Sundance with terrible lighting. I'm very sorry. Back to the...
My mum said it looked cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
She said it looked relaxed and cash.
Just sort of this lovely, natural, slightly adjusted artificial lighting. And yeah, what an adventure it was. Really great fun. And go and listen, to our bonus episode where we sort of ran through some of the best moments and memories and like just crazy interactions we had with celebrity talent, including but not limited to Olivia Colman, Benedict Cumberbatch, Joel Edgerton, Callum Turner, Dave Franco, Alison Brie, Carey Mulligan. Got to really mingle with the stars, which was amazing. And as we said in that episode, an opportunity which could only have happened because of your guys' support.
Yours truly.
It was crazy and then great to be back as well. Back to sort of start the year, another little new year for us. Like we come back from Sundance and now we're back into it again. We've got a very busy slate of films over the next few weeks.
It's a busy time and an exciting time to be covering film and TV. We're talking, on Double Take about, continuing to talk about Oscar-nominated films. It is the season.
Yes,
but
brutalist AI drama.
Yeah, absolutely.
Daisy Ridley's Star Wars film seems to be resilient and emerging back with a new writer. So all of that is in our bonus show on Double Take, which you can see linked below.
But on this week, in episode 166, we got loads to talk about. I'm going to quickly give an update on the TV show Paradise, which is a new Sterling Kane Brown and James Marsden show. They dropped the first 3 episodes, and then they're going to do it weekly afterwards, sort of a half and half. Show's been doing that recently.
Part 1, Part 2.
We've also got Presence. You've seen Presence, the Steven Soderbergh.
We'll get onto it, but Steven Soderbergh is in that. He's also got another film coming out, Black Bag, which we haven't seen. I don't think we've seen in marketing for, but it's due in a few weeks, isn't it?
Yes.
With Fassbender and Cate Blanchett.
Trying to have an opportunity to speak to him.
Which would be very cool. I'll be reviewing his other very different film, Presence, later. Let's just say directors release very different films around similar times.
I've also seen Companion, which is this new horror adjacent movie with Sophie Thatcher and
September 5.
September 5. I think, here's the thing. So the movie is written September 5, but no one in the world says September 5 as a date. So I think we should call it September 5th.
I've been calling it September 5th. And we were at a junket about to speak to the talent of September 5 or 5th. We were like, what are we saying? Is it 5? Is it 5th? And with other journalists in the sort of hallway of Claridge's.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what the hell are we saying here? But anyway.
But no one does say that, do they? No one says, that happened on July 4.
I'll see you on October 10.
No,
you go 10th.
Everyone says 10th. So we have seen September 5th. We'll be giving our review, but we have also spoken to the actors and the director behind the movie. Really interested to share
lovely bunch.
Interactions with them. We'll give a little insert in this episode, so stay posted for that. Then we got some emails, and then we got a game. It's a full bumper club sandwich of an episode this week.
And then later this week, I've finally gone and seen Emilia Perez, and I will be weighing in with George. And also, since you reviewed it a few weeks ago, I think the story has continued to develop. There have been some controversies, more. There is an increasing disparity between critics and audiences, and I think I'm going to give my opinion, comment on that, and we can sort of catch up on Emilia Perez ahead of the Academy Awards. So look out for that later in this week.
But James, let me very quickly begin with Paradise, which is you and I struggle to watch TV. We've said this many times. It's a real time commitment to actually sit down.
Not because of attention spans. It's we dedicate so much of what we're doing to film, and I've always sort of thought of us as like an 85-15 podcast favourite film or TV. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think so. And there's loads of great TV shows out there that I really want to cover. And TV has become, in a way, the thing that I kind of take off the obligation for me to have to watch stuff. And I watch stuff more casually just to give me... the only way I'm going to be able to watch TV, basically, is if I have no pressure to watch it.
We are going to watch it. Like, I'd really like to say I want to cover The White Lotus season 3 as it comes out, and like The Last of Us and other really great shows that I think are very like... cinematic and adjacent, and we think of
blockbuster
interest to our
shows,
audience. Because obviously, if you guys watch films, you are watching great TV.
Yeah.
It's just from our perspective, I know boo-hoo watching TV all day, it's really hard to stay on top of TV releases as compared to films.
Absolutely.
Most films are 2 hours long, and I can go and watch a film and go, great, I didn't like it, or I did, I loved it, or I hated it. But if I watch 2 hours of a 10-hour TV series, and I'm just like, it's all right. I've now got to watch another 8 hours of that show before I give an opinion. Sorry, it's really, really hard. Anyway.
Exactly. We have covered TV a bit before, Fallout, The Bear, and Andor, etc. But this is just a first impressions thing, because I wanted to bring up, for this reason, there was this new show out with Sterling K. Brown on it called Paradise with James Marsden. It's been advertised everywhere. He's been doing the press rounds. It's on Graham Norton doing it. And it looked intriguing. And it's the kind of thing where I thought, yeah, that looks engaging enough for me to watch. I have no obligation to review that for the show. However, here I am talking about it. The reason I want to talk about it is that it's made by Dan Fogler, who made This Is Us, right?
Yes.
And it's this big show. And here's the premise, James. Sterling K. Brown plays Xavier Collins, who's the president's lead agent. And the president, played by James Marsden, is, he's kind of handsome and Kennedy-esque, but a little bit loose. And he's dealing with big world problems. Anyway, we meet him.
Where's it on, sorry?
This is on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
We meet him in the present day, and they're living in this sort of very Americanized town, which is basically Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls. It's actually really distracting. Like I was watching with Anna, and she was like, "That is Luke's diner. That's really weird." Anyway, and it's you're unsure. Is this after his presidency is finished? Whatever. But needless to say, the president is murdered. On Sterling K. Brown's watch as well. So he comes in and he discovers the president murdered. He's the first person to find it. He's like, oh my God, which also makes him a prime suspect.
Nice.
There is lots of other things happening. You've got other security guards. Were you there? Wait, where were you? What were you doing? There's other nefarious people in the
I really can't tell if you're about to say this is amazing or rubbish.
Here we go. And I was like, I'm in. I love a good thriller. Oh, and we cut back and forth about how he met the president, their relationship, how the world was reacting to his presidency. It's really interesting. All very naughty. And it's a little bit hammy, but I'm like, I'm going along with this. But the reason I want to talk about it, I'm not going to say what, but basically at the end of the first episode, it then delivers this huge left turn that I honestly, the credits rolled and I went, what? It's that show? I thought I was watching a President Gets Murdered show, and I'm actually watching this show. And obviously, I can't tell you without ruining it.
Okay.
But it was one of those moments where I was, on the one hand, I was just like incredulous that they had done this. But then it was so brilliantly silly and so brilliantly stupid in a way that I was like, sure, I'll watch it. Why not? If we're going to go there. In episode 1, you've delivered basically a season's worth of dramatic content. Yeah. I'll go for it. It is one of those shows, and I don't mean this as an insult, that reminds me, if you told me it was made in 2009, I would have believed you, because it is one of those shows like Lost, like Heroes, that every episode, they just... More mystery. They're taking out the mystery loan from the bank. And I'm like, I know, but when that debt comes to be paid at the end of the season, you're not going to be able to do it. And I'm 3 episodes in of this first 3 that they've just dumped. And I'm like, I can already tell, I think this is going to fall apart within a few episodes. And yes, it has those terrible dialogue scenes where people would be like, yes, we met before. Remember you told me about how your father used to do this when you were younger. Yes, that's right, I did meet you. And I also told you about how I did it. And like they're delivering exposition to each other in a way where you're like, you guys know this information. You're just doing this for the audience. But if you've seen it, you know what I mean with the end of episode 1. And you go, oh, it's that. Okay, I didn't realize you were going to do all of that as well. So if you have seen it, let us know your thoughts in a non-spoiler way to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. It is really watchable. Sterling K. Brown is very good. I mean, with every episode, I feel like I'm on a slightly descending steps down, going down of quality. Yeah. I'm thinking, oh no, what now? And I wouldn't be surprised if this time next week I'm like, oh, I didn't even finish it. It was absolutely terrible.
Drama front-loaded to the pilot in hopes that you just keep front-loaded.
I mean, honestly, I was like, you put that in episode 1. Wow. That's Paradise. It's on Disney Plus. That's my short little...
It can be quite a trend in films. They have a really explosive, big, dramatic pilot, and the show can go cold for a really long time. And then it gets great at the end. And you almost are teased for thinking that it's going to be like this most of the series.
Yeah, you got this, the baggy middle.
I always felt like that's how I fell out of the Daredevil series. I was like, oh, that was a really good pilot, but then I found it very dry. for the remaining like 3 episodes and then fell off.
Because they front-load the budget for the beginning and then they save it for the end. Are you going to watch the new Daredevil series?
I don't know.
I don't think I am.
I've not seen Daredevil.
But he's born again.
Well, so there you go.
He's a Christian now.
Yeah. We've got Marvel coming back, George. Exciting times.
Yes, we hope.
We hope.
Anyway, Paradise.
So, George, last night I want to give a shout out to. I went to go and see Presents, and I want to give a shout out to the Castle Cinema in Homerton. Really lovely, old school, great foyer, pokey little cinema, narrow corridors, good screen. It's good to see horror, I'd say. This isn't a horror, but it would be good to see a horror film there if you ever find yourself in that part of town. I always like to shout out a very interesting looking cinema, and I really enjoyed that. So I went to go and see Presents, which is directed by Steven Soderbergh, who, as I said in the opening, has also got another film coming out, which I feel like is from the other wing of Soderbergh's career, which is Black Bag, which I haven't seen a trailer for, but it looks like sort of espionage-y and it's more similar to the Ocean Soderbergh with Fassbender and Cate Blanchett. But Soderbergh's also done Contagion and Erin Brockovich and Sex, Lies and Videotape, Logan Lucky, a very varied career. Do you remember the film Unsane?
Yeah, we saw that
with
together.
Claire Foy, which we saw at a press screening years ago when I used to, 2018 or 2017 when I used to work in television. And that's a film that you and I saw in a room with maybe 2 other people and you never saw it again.
It was rubbish.
It was so bad.
Rubbish.
It was
Love Claire Foy, but
Love Claire
rubbish.
Foy about a stalker who, stalks her into her own mental asylum. And so we've we've got Presents, which I think has a really interesting premise. So this film is, we open as the perspective of the camera. It's almost like, imagine we've put, I'm sure it is more hi-fi than this, but they put the camera on a stick and it floats through this empty house. And we sort of get the feeling that we are, as audience members, viewing this entire film through the perspective of a ghost that floats through a house. And this is the present. And we have a character, a real estate agent played by Julia Fox, who is doing a showing of this empty house in a very aspirational part of town near all the good schools, to this very anxiety, sort of like that house buying anxiety, parents with the mother who, they know how good it is and they're showing them around, this is perfect, we should buy it. And what we realize about the film is that this isn't a spoiler, is that someone relating to this family, close to this family, has died. And this presence does not know who they are or why they're here, but they are nonetheless trying to figure something out with this family about what has happened or what maybe is about to happen. Right. And we as the audience are almost like this ghost, trying to understand this family through a slice of life, who the dynamics are, who we are. Okay. And that's the sort of
for the point of view, right?
for the point of view. And so the whole film is in one take, but every scene plays out as one take. And so the camera, or the ghost, as we are the ghost as the audience, floats downstairs, listens to conversations, floats back up the stairs, runs, panics, has the ability to sometimes manipulate objects and move them like a ghost would, vibrate things. And every so often when members of our cast feel the presence of a presence, they will look directly down the lens at the audience, and we, the ghost, the presence, are learning about who we are, who is this person who died or who maybe will die. And that's kind of the central premise of the film, which I think is quite an interesting twist. And we've seen that trend quite a few times in horror, where we show you the horror film, but it's actually from the alternate perspective. You've got lots of high wides. And this film was 85 minutes long, but George, it could have been 805.
Wow.
It was really slow. My main complaint about this film is that it is really dry and very boring. Every single scene is bookended with a blackout, and it just trudges the film along at a really slow pace. I think the dialogue needs a lot of work. Some of the actors do not do very well with this dialogue, and I just was listening to it and I was thinking, this is not how people talk, this isn't how people stand. There's a lot of awkward blocking to facilitate this, what actually feels like an incredibly gimmicky way to shoot your horror film, by having, we can't cut, right? So all the dialogue has to play out by floating and moving. And some actors in this film really didn't do well with the dialogue style. I was like, nobody talks like this. These are teenagers, they don't talk like this. There is a character in this film who is so obviously telegraphed as the villain that as soon as they walk in, you go, that's obviously a bad person in this very small cast of limited possibilities and causalities. They're obviously going to go on and do bad things. And I guess minor spoilers, when they do reveal themselves to be bad, you're like, well, yeah, obviously that was going to be some point of tension here. I don't think all of the cast are bad. I think we've got, some members of the cast who I think are doing really good work. I want to give a shout out to Chris Sullivan, who also plays Chris in that, and Lucy Liu's very good. It's the shortest film I've ever seen that felt like the longest. I've seen The Brutalist only a couple of months ago, and that is a 3.5 hour film that went by so much quicker than this. I sometimes think that you took a very interesting concept and tried to elongate it, and as you were making it, it just totally ran out of legs. I was bored. I was yawning many times throughout, which is a shame because it does sound like, on paper, an interesting concept, and we've shoehorned this format of not being able to cut and not being able to move between spaces, and that unfortunately just leaves this really baggy film in presence. It's not scary. It's not interesting. There's very little subtext. It sort of moves towards action-packed ending that you just go, oh, and an ending on a final note that goes, all right, and we're done. So much more disappointing than I thought, really.
Do you think Soderbergh can get away with doing this stuff because he just does it really cheaply?
Do you remember when I talked about Anyone But You?
Right.
And I talked about how it really looked like the filmmakers rented an Airbnb and stayed at it at the same time and thought, we'll make a film here. This is very much that. So the camera never leaves the house. We can look out the window.
That's what I mean, right?
Yeah, so I agree. It's like you do it very cheaply. There's even like the scene when a medium comes to the house and tries to explain to them what's going on. And it's like, yeah, sure, you're a medium. You have magic powers to explain the plot, but you really have just inserted someone here who could explain the plot in a way that you can't. I didn't enjoy the slice of life of this family. They weren't interesting. Sort of slightly abandoned plot threads. And I remember me and my cousin we looked at each other as the credits rolled. We made this face. We went, we were just talking about, that really felt like a slog. And other people were walking out going, yeah, I agree with you. That was really dull. And it was like a Sunday night. It was a 9 p.m. showing, so it was getting kind of late on a Sunday. Such a shame because I really enjoyed the idea of its concept. And I think that, like, when I explain it on paper, it's a ghost. We are the ghost trying to learn about this family and who we are and who might be a threat and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to say. I think that's quite an interesting. Usually horror's a wonderful way to disguise something more deep and meaningful. I know this isn't a horror film, but it's like we're dealing with ghosts and demons. It's usually a great way to deliver an emotional impact that can elevate an audience's expectations of something they didn't go in to see. And this just did not do that for me, which is a massive shame. One of the slowest 85-minute films I've seen in a really long time.
Okay, so I haven't seen this, but I will just say it reminds me of a film I really do like, which is not a horror film, but it's called it's horror adjacent, which is called A Ghost Story, right? Which is similarly Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara play a couple, and Casey Affleck dies very early on.
I remember you talking about this.
And he is then the spectre in the house, but in a bed sheet with holes cut in, like a traditional ghost. And then he spends time in the home, and that ends up being like a really interesting, quite dark, but quite interesting thing about existential grief and stuff like that. But sounds a bit different to what you were saying.
I wish it had more to say. Yeah. And I remember, like, I saw the trailer and I thought that looks really interesting. It's really wide perspective, like high up, seeing movements through a family. I thought it would maybe be scary, but it's really not scary. There's a mild sense of threat. It's like I describe it like a ratings board. Mild sense of threat, PG-13.
Oh, goodness.
Really weird, real shame. I don't know if it's like a passion project that came through as an idea and he wanted to explore it. Maybe it has promise as a 20-minute cut down as a short. I really wish I wasn't so scathing on it because I quite like that premise, but boring.
If you've seen Presence, let us know your thoughts. So hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
I also think the idea of bookending each one-take scene with a blackout of 3 seconds grinds pace to a halt.
Goodness, yeah.
When you already have a film that can't cut to close up and, the shots will reveal, they are artistic in how they express and show and reveal stuff. When you can't do that and you're just floating and static and moving left to right without any dynamism, and then you cut to black, it's like, we're going to do that 20 times. And then I was yawning.
Instead of being on a fast train, you're at a train that stops every
Yeah.
5 minutes.
I'd love to, if people have different thoughts, if they got something out of it that I didn't get, or if I missed something, I'd love to hear. Please write in to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. I'll read out your correspondence on the show.
Okay, let's do Companion, which I went and saw, which has been sort of posters around again of Sophie Thatcher with white eyes, and it's got this tagline on it that says, "From the studio that brought you The Notebook and Barbarian." And I'm
She almost looked a bit like Priscilla as well.
Yes, yeah, it does actually. Yeah. As they're clearly going for this, like, Valentine's Day, but also, creep, ooh.
Yeah.
Companion is...
So sorry, saying it's from The Notebook and Barbarian, it's like that's just a studio. Like you could draw on any films you wanted to do that. Okay. That's also a really old film, The Notebook, that you're drawing.
I know they want to be like, it's a twisted romance. But Companion is a film. We follow Iris, played by Sophie Thatcher, who was one of the Mormon missionaries in Heretic. That's the one I last see.
Nice.
Apparently, she's in the TV series Yellow Jackets, which is meant to be quite good. I've not seen that. She's very good in this. She plays Iris. And at the beginning of the film, we see Iris strolling through, a beautiful supermarket. She's got this kind of retro doll-like look on her with her kind of 60s get-up. And she has a meet cute with Jack Quaid at the orange stand in the supermarket. And she's like, I felt it was love at first sight. It was terrific. And then we cut to them driving, now into their relationship, driving to this massive mansion on a lake in the countryside in America. You have their actors like Lucas Gage and Rupert Friend, who is playing a very big, broad Russian billionaire who owns lake and talks like this and has a sleazy mullet and kind of looks like the guy who's in Clarkson's Farm, but with
the guy who can't speak English.
He looks a bit like that. Anyway, so they go, and it's a classic thing. It's friends hanging out, and it's Iris meeting sort of Jack Quaid's friends for the first time, and they're a little bit cold towards her. And Iris actually says to one of the friends at one point, like, "Why don't you like me?" And she's like, "It's not that I don't like you. I just don't like the idea of you. Okay, and it's just like being very rude." Anyway, she deeply in love with Jack Quaid, and so far so set up. But 20 minutes in, she's at the lake on her own. And Russian Rupert Friend turns up, and he's getting a little bit sleazy. He's getting a bit handsy, and he's like, wants her to rub sun cream on him, and etc. And also, she happens to have a switchblade in her pocket, which she doesn't realize anything. Anyway, one thing leads to another. This billionaire Russian dies horribly, and this triggers a set of circumstances because Iris comes back to the house and said, "Oh my God, I can't remember his name, Nikolai," so, is dead. And they're like, oh my God. And she's like, I don't know, it happened. And then, again, a bit like Paradise, something happens, which I'm not going to reveal because I didn't know what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And 25 minutes, half an hour into the film, it takes a turn. And I go, oh, okay, we're going to do this. All right, I wasn't expecting that. And what you get, if I can talk about it broadly, it's not a horror film. The best way to describe it is kind of Black Mirror-esque. Is what you get, okay? And you then have, like I said, it's a chain of events that have been set into motion with this billionaire's death that revolve around Iris and people turning on people. We're talking about it very broadly because I didn't know what the sort of switcheroo was going to be. Here's the thing. I said it's Black Mirror-like. It's an hour and 35 minutes. If it had been 60 minutes long, it probably would have been one of the best Black Mirror episodes there have ever been, right? An hour and 35, which is not long for a movie. It's a bit shallow, a bit of a stretch, and it doesn't quite ever click into being anything as exciting as it presents itself to be. It's got a great poster, a great font, great performances, and it never quite rose above that to think, this is really nifty. Whereas I think if it was placed within like a Black Mirror context, it would have been great.
I did like the poster and the font.
There you go. I will say that whenever I found myself pulling out of the film and whenever I thought it was about to lose me, it would do something that would pull me back in, and I would go, that's very interesting. But equally, whenever I thought it was going to do something really clever, it wouldn't quite do that. It would miss the mark and pull its punch. So I was kind of in this middling ground with it. Not terrible. Could have been so much better. Has a few surprises in it. I think if you know more than I've told you going in, you're going to enjoy it less because I was carried along by the surprises of the film. I hadn't seen the trailer, and I don't think the trailer gives away what I've avoided giving away. So intriguing, but a bit shallow and a bit stretched. But Sophie Thatcher, really great.
I was intrigued by it, but that's a shame. I'll probably miss it now.
I think
I've
you
heard
can,
your
yeah.
review. But yeah, that's Companion. As always, disappointing films today, George.
Sorry, yeah.
As always, send in your thoughts if you've seen Companion to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com and read them out on a future episode of the show.
They make for quite nifty short reviews, though. So it's handy for us.
Whereas when we're gushing about the Bruce list for 30 minutes, it just elongates the episode. Hold on one sec.
So now let's talk about September 5th. We're going to call it September 5th, as talked about at the beginning of the show, which we've seen this week, and we've had the opportunity to speak to some talent about. If you don't know, September 5th, which admittedly is a very unimaginative title.
We were saying that,
It's a shame in a way, because the film kind of...
And it's a date which functionally on emails and texts, and when you say it to someone, it's like, wait, I know, when's it coming out?
Yeah.
I know it's coming out. What's the name of the film?
So September 5th, which is about the 1972 Munich Olympic Games hostage crisis, but told specifically through the viewpoint of the ABC Sports News team. And this film, in another 90-minute film, really, for the week, takes place in the broadcasting centre in the Olympic Village in 1972. You have Peter Sarsgaard playing Rune Arledge.
Is it Rooney?
No, Rune. They call it Rune Arledge, who we discovered when we spoke to Peter Sarsgaard and the director, was actually a kind of pioneer of sports broadcasting and really brought a lot of storytelling techniques to it. And actually, I was reading his biography afterwards. He went on to be like a major player in American broadcasting. So Peter Sarsgaard is playing Rune Arledge, who's overseeing the broadcasting of the Olympic Games in Munich. You have Ben Chpalin playing the head of operations, who's running around making sure all this analog tech works and everything, and they can broadcast the way they need to, so they can connect to the satellite and they can switch over slots so CBS can get it later. You have John Magarro, who's playing a character who's, for the point of the film, is his first time sort of helming the operations while Peter Sarsgaard's character goes and has a day off. For context, it's Germany. It's 1972. You have German characters talking about how this was a really key moment in German history to try and move past the war and the legacy of the war. It's international eyes on Germany, specifically West Germany, trying to acknowledge the horrors of the past, but it's a new generation saying Germany has changed, Germany is new, and Germany is different.
And filmed live by a satellite in colour for the first time, framing Germany in a new lens. Very important to create that sort of distinction.
And yes, advances in media technology, which we see, but still kind of enjoyable and technical and analog. But then, as we know, as history dictates, and as depicted in other films like Spielberg's Munich, a hostage crisis does take place. The Israeli Olympic team is taken hostage in the Olympic Village, and what begins over the course of September 5th, 1972. The ABC sports news team find themselves in this unique position where they are literally 2 buildings away from what is happening, and they're getting pressure to give it over to the general news team back in the States, and they think, no, this is our time, we can tell this story. Like I said, it's focused in that building, 90 minutes with those characters. I don't think I've missed anything out about the story there. Yeah. So we were lucky enough to have the opportunity to speak to the director, Tim Fehlbaum, to Peter Sarsgaard, to Ben Chpalin, to John Magarro and Leonie Benech yesterday. And what a great time. John Magarro, who was incredibly jet lagged, bless him.
So we actually George got to speak to him very briefly in Sundance, and we were almost like, we're tired and jet lagged from a 7-hour difference. And we said, we saw you at Sundance, and bless him, respect, was just like, oh, amazing. Where am I? What time is it? Who are we?
I mean, I don't know whether you'll hear it in that, but yeah, he really was fading. Nice guy. Did very well.
Guy.
But it was a delight to speak to all of them, actually. And we're going to we asked basically the same questions to all 3 groups. We're going to try and put a compilation together for you now. So here are the cast and the director of September 5th talking about the movie.
You guys, thank you so much for speaking to us today. My name's James. This is George. We're from a podcast called Pulp Kitchen. We caught the film last week. We both really enjoyed it. So just congratulations on the film, first of all.
Thank you. My first question is, I'm really interested in the parallels in this film between the working environment that's depicted of the broadcast team and filmmaking as well. And your character, it's his first day kind of on the bridge, as it were, helming this thing together. And it got me thinking, what are your personal memories of your first time going onto a film set, and what did you learn? You look terrified.
Yeah, I was terrifying.
You are terrified.
Yeah. You were terrified.
I'm terrified right now. What was yours?
I think I was 13.
Oh, wow.
On a film set. I don't really count it as my first filming experience. it was my first film experience, but I was more of an extra. I
Yeah,
did have a
right.
name, but I was kind of in the background. I was terrified by everyone. I didn't know how many people it involved. I didn't know how to deal with the other cast members or what to do with, because I was supposed to be basketball and I can't play basketball. It's just terrible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the same thing. Would you count my Munich thing? I wouldn't count that.
It was your first
It was my first time on set, but
Yeah.
there was no stakes, so I didn't feel any like pressure. It was just pressure to not lose your mind by sitting around all day for 2 days. The first time I actually spoke was for this TV show, and yeah, I freaked out. Like, they opened the door and the camera was there, and you're the other actor, and the other actor said some lines. She said some lines, and I'm supposed to respond, and I was just like. Like, couldn't remember anything, just totally gone, totally blank. And then I realized, oh, it's film, you can do it again. Not that I did it much better, but yeah, it's a very freaky experience. Yeah.
You lived everyone's stage nightmare, but on a film set, basically.
It's better to live it on a
Yeah.
film set
True.
because
Yeah.
you can,
agree.
you know. I've seen actors do that on stage. That's embarrassing. Where they've had to go off and get a line and. I mean, a line, not a line.
No, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Or they get a line. Yeah.
For that kind of show.
Yeah.
So what I really appreciated about this film is how much it was almost like a love letter to analog media from the 1970s, and how much had to be facilitated to get the shots. So moving big studio cameras, smuggling film reels. Did it give you a sort of newfound appreciation for how easily we have it now as filmmakers and storytellers?
Yeah. I also find us a bit lazy, looking
Yeah.
at the amount of work they put in.
Yeah, when you actually had to cut film. I was just in an edit room recently, and the speed at which they can just like change things and apply sound and like take it away and do it instead of having to cut, and then it's just
Text on screen for me. I just assumed you put
Yeah.
it on there, but the stenciling and the logos.
Georgina Rich
amazing.
having to learn how to put these in manually. It's beautiful. I also wonder if maybe news used to be better because people had more time to put it all together. Whereas now we're like, oh, here's some information. Let's just
you're probably
pass it on.
Yeah, that's probably part of it, definitely.
It's a good question. Of course, part of why this is portrayed so, why you have got that feeling from watching the movie is because I'm also a little bit of a geek in that sense that I'm very fascinated with the analog world of television. But I want to add that this is also part of the bigger topic because our movie is about how developments in technology has an influence on the media, in that sense also have an influence on how we perceive world political events. And now we're definitely living in an age where there's another turning point in media history. Now everything is so fast, as you just said, you can so fastly now send out an image that back then still had to go through the development path and then telecine it before it could be aired. So we wanted for today's audience also to give them a feeling of the physicality also of that. That's why also a lot of these devices that we got on top of that they should be accurate, they also should work so that the cast could actually really press these buttons and it would have an effect on the monitor wall. And that was quite complicated.
There's a really important scene in the beginning of this film when your character has a moment where he's really crafting the direction of this swimming race, and you're sort of becoming really aware of how much a story has a narrative and can be crafted. Now you've done this film, are you watching the news and watching media with a different veil of appreciation for how stuff is being
I've always
crafted?
watched it like that. I mean, I grew up around cynical people. So this is like, in the era of Reagan and stuff, growing up in the United States with liberal parents, and in the way that the media really embraced Reagan in a lot of ways, partly because he was an actor probably, and he looked good up there. But like, it always seemed like storytelling to me, and it depended on who was telling the story. And my father used to tell me, "Oh, the news should be boring."
Yeah,
So I would watch PBS, which was pretty boring with a public service.
Yeah, but it's fun when it's local.
It's not boring now.
The local news is always fun. It's fun in England too, isn't it?
Right.
You want it to be a bit rubbish, don't you? You need it to be a little bit rubbish. That's the honesty of it.
The helicopter going over the...
Yeah, American news was... when I noticed when I first went to America, 30 odd years ago, was they just told you what to feel more than English news. And I think now we've fully caught up. I think we have fully caught up. Yours already had a kind of soundtrack to it, and
We have
observe the moved guest at the funeral. It's like, well, I'm looking at it.
Or how about the anchor person who takes the little
Yes, that
moment, and you're like-
the acting news. But I think that's true in England.
very dry, yeah.
Would you say that's true in Britain now? I would.
I think it's caught up as you
So
said.
the newsreader feels for you.
Because
Yeah,
Jim McKay in this, who plays our anchor person, I mean, the real guy, you know, the really appealing thing to me about him was we were talking early on, and he was like, if we can't get the footage, who should play Jim McKay? And I was like, if we can't get the footage, we shouldn't do the movie, because there is no actor that can be that self-effacing. I mean, actors want to show up and have it be about them. He's trying to be invisible in his own way.
He's trying not to be moved, isn't he?
Yeah.
Trying very hard not to.
And not in the actor way where then you
That's
would
right,
cry.
that's right, yeah.
He's actually trying
Yeah,
to leave it up to you.
yeah. With wet swimming shorts on.
With wet swimming
No, that's
shorts.
true, you know. They called him from the pool, he was swimming, and it was such an emergency, he went. It was only at the end of 19 hours that he realised he still had his wet trunks on. Mad, isn't it?
Business up
That's
front.
commitment.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, because I never had a TV, and I also don't really watch the news. I read the news, but I do think that's well, I do too much, but it's not much better. But I think that is what's so fascinating about Rowan Arledge is that he did initiate that shift. He was famous in sports for giving the audiences an idea of who these people were and storytelling, and then applied the same to news. And I think part of the reason we're in such a mess is because it's not about politics, it's about emotion. I don't think that is great for relaying news to people. I don't think it's done us particularly well.
It made me appreciate sports coverage a lot more. What goes into that, and I spent time in these control booths shadowing people, directors and producers. So it really makes me, when I watch sports, respect it in a whole new way. Yeah.
This film has a very particular focus. Obviously, it's focused to one day, but also the location as well, and narratively very tight. It's a very gripping and intense watch as well. As actors on working on the film, how do you kind of step back, decompress, and kind of switch off from that, either at the end of the day when you finish shooting or when the whole project is done? How do you kind of walk away?
I think I usually always try to be the first one off the set and then back in my hotel room. And for me, it's the shower. I don't want to spend time in the makeup department. I just want to go home and then have a shower, and then I'm fine. But I was quite grumpy during that time.
I think all of us were quick. I'd be curious. I think I was pretty quick to get off the set every day too. Like we all, it was like wrap for the day, and everyone just kind of bolted. I mean, again, because you were in this space and it was long, intense days. Why are you guys called Pulp Kitchen?
So it's just a little.
Like
We're a film
Pulp
podcast.
Fiction.
So it's Pulp
Kitchen.
We started
Do you
filming
cook on
it.
it? Do you cook on it?
But it's basically we shot it in James's one-bedroom
Oh.
tiny flat, which is
Is
like
that-
it's like kitchen sink of British drama, kind of.
I see.
I think we haven't thought about it as long as you have, actually, which we should
Are
probably
you trying
do.
to not answer the question?
I was gonna segue into something that
Food related.
What I do to unwind is I cook.
There you go.
there you
Fantastic.
So I thought if you guys are like Pulp Kitchen, like you cook a meal on the show, I was gonna like do a Stanley Tucci and whip out
bring
a
out
bunch
some
of food.
I do love food.
We're gonna do that, but I guess we're not cooking today.
No, I'm afraid not.
And I really liked how close quarters the film felt.
I didn't.
Dark studios.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I think always claustrophobic. Do you like that
No.
experience as actors? You don't. You prefer space.
I don't. It doesn't matter what I prefer. The obstacle makes for a good performance.
Yeah.
And it's not about it's not about being comfortable.
Yeah.
When you're an artist like I am, it's about being. I don't know. Like I've lost my mind. It's making a movie.
For your next project, you're going to be shooting in fields,
It's just a music video.
mountain ranges.
John running through.
Just a rush.
Yeah.
Sound of music.
And you just do
Yeah, sound of
it.
music.
And what are we talking about?
Claustrophobia.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a movie set on an elevator.
Oh, the
That horror movie.
The Devil.
The Empire.
Yeah.
Yes,
Remember that
yeah,
movie?
that's a good one.
Yeah.
But they leave the elevator though. It's not. You know what's another one?
I don't
Buried.
know.
Well, we
with Ryan
leave. We
Reynolds.
leave the.
You do, a bit,
She
a
goes
bit.
out on the road.
That's
Yeah,
true. We were saying
tiny
when
bit.
we came out.
Buried.
Yes, Barry, that's all in the coffin with Ryan Reynolds.
See, so it could always be worse.
It could be way more claustrophobic.
What a lovely chat we had with them. They were great. Really enjoyed speaking to them. It's always a great opportunity to speak to the filmmakers, particularly with a film we kind of engrossed in. As you can tell from those questions, we had a lot to think about it. James, September 5th.
A really nice, sharp and concise, interesting film. The first thing I noticed when I started watching it was not the runtime itself, that became clear obviously after we finished it, but it was how quickly the film got straight to the point. I'd say we got about 7 or 8 minutes worth of needed, efficient context.
Yes.
And I love that we were straight into it. It was very tense. The film is small in a good way and tight and almost claustrophobic as we navigate between the TV gallery, pushing cameras, smuggling reels, trying to get from A to B. I enjoyed the perspective of staying in the room or the studio with these characters, and it's really well acted. Peter Sarsgaard's really good in that role. John Magarro's also great in that. I'd like seeing him in more things. We loved him in past lives, and similarly, Leonie Benech, really, really great in that role. There's so many wonderful little notes which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the context of Munich being put on blast in colour, live from satellite, that obviously being really relevant later in the film. And also an appreciation, and I mentioned this in the interviews with the guys, just what a love letter to analogue media and how many things had to be facilitated for everything to happen. Dragging things in between studios, smuggling film reels, who knew text on screen and logos being put on to make that work. Was so difficult. We definitely take that for granted now. I think it's a really easy film to recommend, unlike films like The Bruce List, which I think I really loved. I struggle to recommend that to people because it's slightly pretentious, because of its overly long run time. I really think if you're interested in the story behind the story you know from a perspective you didn't have, it's a really great film to go and check out. It's only 90 minutes, and I just think it's all very well done and worth checking out.
Yeah, I think if you don't know the story, you can enjoy it. If you do know the story, you can still enjoy it. That's the whole point. It's a fresh perspective. I like the director talks about they didn't want to have any personal arcs with the characters. It's all about the professional workspace. And in a way, it's a good film about a working environment. It feels like it could equally be a film about a submarine crew or a ship crew, tight, focused in this broadcasting space. And it could be a play, as we talked about in the interviews. And I agree. I think it's really recommendable. And it's just a solid, gripping, albeit grim, thriller that is effective as a thriller, as a piece of entertainment thriller, but also probes deeper questions about narrative and media, narrativization of information, and the way that information is interpolated and used and can be taken by broadcasters, but also ultimately. There's a point towards the end of the film which I really like, which is that despite all the narrativization that happens, it's kind of a sort of a chilling, emotional reminder that you can control the narrative, but you can't control the story at the end of the day. And that's a great moment.
Yeah, there's that really important scene with Peter Sarsgaard in the beginning where he is the legendary sports broadcaster who's in the gallery of the TV room choosing the shots, and someone wins the swimming race. And it's not just important showing who wins, but how long you show them. Do you show the loser? Do you show them greeting their family? All of that shapes the narrative of sports storytelling and news storytelling in this sense. And you'll hopefully see this film and then look at all of that in a really new lens. And I really do recommend, not that this is an opportunity given out to many people, but if you ever get the chance to go into the gallery of a TV studio, it's a really interesting place to be. You probably won't get to see it as shots are being cool, but I really do remember when I worked in television, it was a lot of the time I was in there to watch them directing music sequences shot for live, and just seeing how they cut to the music and move the time and when to go wide and when you want to go close up. It's all just part of the directing and the storytelling for that, and it's a really nice appreciation of that craft, especially when it's live and broadcast live and the pressure of the world watching Germany being framed in this in colour on satellite for the first time. All of that's done really nicely, but not overly done. It's very efficient with its prologue.
And it's, it kind of concludes with this postscript about how it was technically the first broadcast act of terror, and about you had this point where media is changing, and I just think that's really interesting and a kind of daunting fact, but really effective as a thriller. Great, solid movie. We both really got a lot out of it.
90 minutes.
Yeah,
easy
really.
to jump in and jump out, especially if you enjoy history. I think it's a really good one. Yeah, it would make a very good play.
And it's not too, I found it thankfully not too, in its 70s setting, too wiggy, too smoky. It's a good blend of actual recreated footage and also archival footage.
Yes, yeah.
One of the sports anchor that they have is not played by an actor. It's they use the real archival footage. Good solid movie.
Go and check out September 5th. It's coming out later this week, I think.
Yeah.
And as always, send in your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, your reviews to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com, and we'll read them out on a show. 2 good reviews and 2 not so good reviews and 1 great review.
And Paradise.
It's just and Paradise as well,
see.
mixed in there. Moving on to our emails. Guys, if you want to send in your thought. George, shall we move on to the emails? If you want to send your emails into the show, you can, of course, do that by sending your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, your reviews to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. Or if you want to support us at the VIP tier on Patreon, you can have priority access to have your email read out on the show, just
Like
James did. Friend of the show, James.
Hello, James.
Quiz attendee, James. We remember you. Salute you, sir. A decorated
decorated veteran.
You get your badge for being a friend
Thank
of the
you
show.
for
A quiz
serving, sir.
attendee, a VIP patron. Thank you for your service, James. James writes in and says, 5-a-side films.
Okay.
Hi, chaps. Hope you're well and having a smashing start to the year.
Thank you.
Very happy for you that you were able to attend Sundance, a testament to not only the growth of Pulp Kitchen, but the quality too.
Amen.
Whereas I don't have a huge amount to say / question on the current film landscape, other than Nosferatu is fantastic, I thought I might send in a little note / thought exercise / game.
A lot of slashes there.
I've seen that James is a football fan, unfortunately an Arsenal one. George, I am unsure, but alas, you are a Chelsea...
Yeah, casual Chelsea.
Casual Chelsea fan. Please select... All right, here we go. Please select your 5-a-side team for a film. You can pre-select the genre.
Okay.
Goalkeeper, director / writer,
Okay.
mix and match. Defender, composer / soundtrack. Midfielder, cinematographer. Forward, supporting actor. Forward, lead actor. For example, Dune 2 might look like this. Goalkeeper, Denis Villeneuve. Defender, Hans Zimmer. Midfielder, Greg Fraser. Forward, Zendaya.
Okay.
Forward, Tiny Tim. You must mean Chalamet. I hope that makes sense. Keen to see what you come up with. / if not, just bin it off. Love the pod as ever. All the best, James O'Dens. He's like James O'Dens.
Yo.
So, for example, I could do Oppenheimer. And my
Right.
director would be Sir Christopher Nolan.
Great.
My composer would be Ludwig Göransson. My midfielder, cinematographer, would be Hoyte van Hoytema. My supporting, probably Downey Jr.
Yeah.
And then my lead, Cillian Murphy. That's great. Get them on the Sunday League.
I actually think I'm going to give you Saving Private Ryan.
Very nice.
So for goalkeeper, Spielberg. For defender, you'd have John Williams.
Beautiful.
For midfielder, you'd have Janusz Kaminski, who does all of Spielberg stuff, makes it all look golden and lovely. For supporting actor, for forward, you'd have Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, yeah. Would be.
And for forward, you'd have Tom Hanks.
Oh, great.
That's a pretty good.
It's pretty good.
I think that's quite an even match, actually.
Yeah.
Two war epics.
Now I'm going to be watching
Two male-dominated
films.
war epics.
Yeah. I'm going to be watching films being like, and who's my supporting forward?
Yeah. Who's the director? Nah, they wouldn't make a good goalie.
Make a good goalie.
What do you do if you have a Safdie brothers stage? They're just like 2 of them in goal.
Erotic Andrew, yeah. Thank you so much, James, for your support. And as always, guys, if you want to have a VIP access to the emails, you can support us on Patreon.
This next email is from Megan, who writes in about Baby Girl.
Yes, of course.
Hello again, gents. Hope you're both doing well. I was interested to hear your review of Baby Girl, which I listened to again after seeing it last night. I had a good time and enjoyed watching a film that was unique in its approach to sex and the power dynamics that can come with it. However, for me, this might be one of the only instances where I think watching this at home would have been better than experiencing it at the cinema. As you mentioned in your review, out of context, some of the dialogue might fall apart or potentially be a bit cringy. This was the main problem I found being at the cinema, as particularly in the first half of the film, there was a lot of tittering and nervous laughter at some of the dialogue, and I think this took me out of it slightly. Overall, I did have a good experience with the film, and the performances really did carry it for me. Retrospectively, I appreciate how the film was about sex, but didn't feel the need to show it constantly, while also not shying away from portraying it in a raw and real way. Not sure if that makes sense. You explained it much better in your review. Hope you have a wonderful time. Hope you had a wonderful time at Sundance. Big love, Meg.
So yeah, it's interesting. First of all, like, it does feel like a film that might actually be better enjoyed not with other people in the room, given that it's very intimate and particular about sex.
Solo activity.
Probably confronting your relationship with sex and being dominated. Like, I was lucky that nobody in my screaming was giggling or laughing at the dialogue. Because, like, back what I said, in lesser hands or in a lesser environment, I can see that factor really playing out for people. But, you know, like we say, go to cinema, see it in cinema. I actually think there is something to be said about enjoying this film maybe on your own.
Yeah.
And taking it in and having your own more intimate relationship with the film's themes. So I do kind of get that. So I've caught up with actually quite a few people on Baby Girl since it's been out, and I sort of very much backing what I said, but I've had different relationships with people, different relationships with women in particular, some of who've agreed and enjoy it, and they found it very sort of like enticing and alluring. And then other people who have had very different, they have received Harris Dickinson's character very differently in a way that I kind of understand. One of the things I could criticize the film for is that his character is almost like a fantastical, mystical character who has this innate ability to understand really well exactly what Nicole Kidman's character wants, which I'm almost like, yeah, that is a little bit silly. But towards the end of the film, this isn't a spoiler, he's presented in such a way in an environment which he was before with a sort of an item that was used in the first part of the film to almost have him act as like a representation, a silhouette, a bringing together of ideas. And I was like, you have held his character almost at an arm's distance from the audience. He's not meant to necessarily be a relatable part of your life versus an idea about intimacy and sexuality for Nicole Kidman's character. For that, I actually hold my opinion and go, yeah, this is interesting to me.
I would say that with the idea about going to see it at the cinema and people tittering and stuff, it can happen. I have a friend who saw Challengers, which has a very distinctive dialogue style that if you see it with an audience, which he did, which was a bit older, didn't really click with it, and then therefore are laughing at it, it just pulls you out of it and you just don't connect with it in the same way, and it ruins the whole experience for you.
Also ask the question is that if you don't find that dynamic sexy, the character sexy, the person sexy, does it ruin the film for you if you're not attracted to the proposition? Does that therefore take away? Because I've spoken to people who are like, my relationship with, let's be honest, like domination, intimacy, it's not me, them saying, is very, very different to how that film is being represented. If that is not a hang-up, but like a preference for you, are you therefore going to receive the film in a very different, darker light, and it just might not translate? Oh. I leave that with you. I can't answer that. But very alluring, very sensual, very, very sexy film. I recommend it. This next one is from Joe, who says, Flight Risk is okay. Hello, James and George, George and James. That is the Mel Gibson, Mark Wahlberg film that we just missed.
Yes,
but
missed the flight.
Missed the flight with all the risk. Long-time listener, first-time caller. While January is notoriously dry for new film releases, the fact that you have been at Sundance Festival means that if there has been a film you might have missed, it probably would have been Flight Risk. So I thought I'd try and help out, even if I'm an inexperienced reviewer. Having a free cinema ticket to use up and an afternoon lecture to go to, contemporary issues in financial reporting. Thrilling. The contemporary issues.
Of financial reporting.
Not the legacy issues.
We must report. And we must...
From a contemporary perspective.
There are issues, but they're the contemporary issues.
I focused on the contemporary issues. Flight Risk was my only option for something quick to watch today, so I decided to see if it was any good. Bracket spoiler, not really. Directed by Mel Gibson, who has made some excellent movies. Yeah. Yes, Hacksaw Ridge. No. I thought at least this could be a fun, silly action thriller that scratches a particular itch, like the way the Fast and Furious films and the Has Fallen films do for me. However, the issue that it doesn't seem to know if it wants to be more a comedy or more of a thriller, and ends up being neither. Topher Grace does get a few laughs as the drug dealer accountant, but is really at odds with Michelle Dockery's more dramatic performance as the US Marshal bringing him in to testify. And Mark Wahlberg as a psychotic hitman disguised as their pilot, brackets not a spoiler, which is fine, it's in the trailer, and the craziness of Wahlberg's character, it could have pulled it off a more comedic angle, but it does end up focusing on the dramatic aspects. But Topher Grace's character and the voice of Hassan still tries to add moments of levity to the film at odds with the tension it attempts to create. Right. The other major problem is that it has as its writing. The dialogue, particularly in the first third, is very clunky, and you can really tell that it's been written out as a script to read, whereas good writing and good acting should make you think that it hasn't been written at all and is natural. The plot itself is fairly straightforward, with the reveal of Wahlberg's character being the main focus of the marketing. While I appreciate this is necessary, as otherwise the film just looks like a 90-minute flight over Alaska, I wish Dockery's character takes longer to realise this, as the dramatic irony could have made the whole thing a lot more tense, because after this reveal, it is fairly one-dimensional and predictable, unfortunately. All in all, not the worst film I will see this year, but not something I remember this time next week. Could have been a good plane movie or one to watch if you just want to switch off your brain for 90 minutes, but the action is probably not good enough to make up for the poor writing. Thanks for all the great content. It really helped me get into film on a deeper way. Quick question, apologies if you have answered this already. I'm perpetually 2-3 eps behind, sadly. Any particular TV shows you were looking forward to this year? I'm excited for the second season of Andor, given how well written the first one was. Cheers, Joe from Manchester. Love it, mad for it.
On Flight Risk, thank you you for filling me in. I feel like I've seen it. I didn't see it. I've got it now.
I don't wonder
got
about
the gist.
any more twists and turns
Didn't know
of how that
Michelle
risky
Dockery and
was
Topher Grace are in it. Random.
Thank you so much for your email. Yeah, I'm looking forward to The White Lotus
Yes.
Season 3, which is coming out imminently. I'll definitely be interested in The Last of Us Season 2, Part 2.
Agreed.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's fun.
Go watch Paradise and see
Go
what you
watch
think.
Paradise, yeah. Thank you for your
And
email.
This next email is from Ross, who actually writes in about plain films. Watch it, boys. I tell you what, I didn't expect to feel genuine pride for a couple of nice-speaking London boys who chat about films, but here we are.
You even went, I tell you what,
I know,
a bit northern.
He's
He's
called
called
us
us
London
London boys.
Yeah, the casual, friendly colloquialism of you. I don't know what I'm saying, but my point is, it came across in your words, Ross.
You're putting us in a box, Ross.
I'm so here for you all, Rise, and you both deserve the very best.
Rise.
You probably won't remember this, but a couple of years ago, on a flight to Florida, I made a devastating mistake by watching Tenet with two small kids to appease. I do remember that. Well, last week, I was back on the same journey, but without the childebeest, so this was my chance for redemption. So here's what I watched. First, the positive. The Wild Robot. Truly wonderful film, massively appreciated from a parent perspective, and a perfect, literal representation of flying the nest.
Yes.
Great. Alien Romulus. Gnarly and terrifying, but Kaylee Spaney's character showing elite intelligence to overcome every situation seemed a bit too convenient at times.
She's a bit of a Mary Sue in that, but I thought Alien Romulus was good.
No, yeah, me too. Third best Alien movie.
Yes.
Furiosa, amazing. Normally, I criticize a film for not taking time to have conversations and develop characters with subtle moments, but this world is pure carnage, and I love that you just have to strap in and crash into the next moment head on. I only watched this on a plane because I was sitting in BA Club World with a big screen. Humble brag, sorry.
Business class. I like how Ross clearly just went straight to the new releases and was like, what we got? Yeah. That one, that
I've
one.
got a long flight. I'm in the BA World
Yeah.
Club World. I'm taking it. And he watched more. The negative. I may ruffle some feathers here, but La Chimera, more like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Pretentious Doom.
So it's fair enough.
So deadly dull and artsy for the sake of it. And also, I saw the TV Glow, which I've heard good things about, but I was so excited for this, but the film was just not made for me. A lot of people seem to really identify with it and have a profound experience. I'm pleased for them, but I got absolutely nothing. It was as if they'd slapped a pink filter onto a boring episode of Stranger Things. Sorry for the bloated email. Feel free to make cuts and, of course, continue to crush it in the industry. Your pal Roscoe, sent from Outlook for iOS.
I look forward to Ross catching another sort of 8+ hour flight in 4
Without
to 6
children.
months without children and just doing all of the main releases of since he's last flown. Thank you very much, Ross. This next one is from Cameron. Cameron writes in, email subject, The Brutalist.
Yes.
Hey lads, just saw The Brutalist this weekend and loved it. It took me back to seeing There Will Be Blood for the first time in the cinema. The Brutus tapped into that same kind of grand, immersive intensity. Yeah, they're very similar.
Yeah.
It'd be an exhausting back-to-back.
Yeah,
There's
long.
something about its themes and textures that really felt similar to PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson. Though to be clear, that's not to diminish Brady Corbett in any way. This felt wholly original and I was captivated from start to finish. Corbett, Adrian Brody calls him Corbet.
Yes.
Which was my joke, that he would be Brady Corbet.
And this was picked up on TikTok. Did you know that Brady Corbet was Alan Tracy in the Thunderbirds movie from 20 years ago? Yeah. I know. I saw that in the cinema.
Oh my God.
He's the lead. It was someone pointed out. That's like, that's Alan Tracy. You know, do you remember the Thunderbirds movie? With
My
Bill
mind
Paxton
is blown.
and Ben Kingsley.
That is so weird.
That's him. Yeah. I'm just, yeah.
I'm so because I know he's been talked about as an actor, but I never thought
Never
of him as
thought
like
he was
Thunderbirds.
Yep.
I love that you remember the character name as well.
Also, Alan for like a 16-year-old. What?
Alan. That is so strange.
Yeah.
But you know what? Fair play.
Hey,
Like
no judgment.
he was around, and now he's made The Brutalist, which is brilliant.
That's a film that just, has never.
I
it's also
really
'cause
liked
no one
it
has
when I
made-
saw
really?
it. Yeah, I really liked
Did you
it.
like Thunderbirds in general?
Not for my generation. I remember my
Yeah.
dad was obsessed with it. And then I was like, oh, you talk about Thunderbirds, saw the movie, enjoyed the movie, but I've no connection to the TV series and
I
the
went
puppets.
to a friend's house. They had
Siren,
they had the entire Tracy Island with all the Thunderbird ships and everything. And I was like, all right,
Yeah,
whatever.
lame.
Sorry, what era are you from?
Yeah, I loved Captain America though. That was great. Have you seen? Oh no, it's not Captain America. Team America.
Oh yeah.
You see Team America?
Yeah, probably not since
Probably
it came
not
out.
aged well.
No, I need to rewatch that.
Moving on to, I still can't wrap my head around the fact that Courbet is only 36. This film exudes the confidence and craftsmanship of much older filmmaker. Jumping from Vox Lux to this is a wild leap. As a 30-year-old filmmaker myself, it's also extremely depressing knowing he's made this and is only 6 years older than me. Side note, intervals in films should be more of a thing. The ability to go out and discuss the film, go for a wee, and get another bottle of wine is class. I agree.
Classic.
I think my executive order would be all films over 2 hours and 40 minutes should have an enforced 15-minute interval.
I would say 3
And I'd
hours.
hold it up with my big fat signature.
I would say over 3 hours, and I'm like, that's breakable, because then 3 hours you can split it definitively right in the middle. 2 hours. I mean, admittedly, like Gladiator 2 was 240, but like Gladiator 2, if you put it,
I wouldn't have come back.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't have come back. You needed to get that done with, and like kindness wouldn't have
in
come
honor
back.
of Supreme Leader Trump, we should do our cinema executive orders.
Yeah.
Like, I hereby decree, and then we should pass them and sign them and hold them up. That's a big one. That's very big. Intervals. Intervals in films.
We laugh but to cry.
If there's one thing that didn't quite land for me, it was the epilogue. Cameron goes on to say about the Brutalist. If there's one thing that didn't quite land for me, it was the epilogue. Ending on the final scene at the would have felt more natural and darker. I don't think the added much, but that's just me. Love the podcast. Be seeing you, Cam. Yeah, we've had another email about the ending, and I spoke to someone else who was like, "What was the ending?" I personally found the ending very thought provoking, and it tied a bow.
Yeah,
it was like another idea on top of this now complete film, which to me was like, yes, you've presented me with more to think about how art is being received after the artist has finished their thing.
And also the very final shot is also mirrors the very first shot and emphasizes a particular character in the film who is, you think of more as a supporting character, but actually I guess it's thematically, you realise, as we said when we reviewed it, that the film comes to its completion and snaps into focus at the end.
Yeah.
You realise that this character says so much.
I found myself going to some people who say, I didn't like it, it's not for me, and I'm like, fair. Or some people I've gone, you really won't like this. And then some people very specifically I've gone, you need to see The Brutalist, I think you're really going to like it. And there's nothing wrong with either group. I'm conscious of the how prescribed I think recommending this film is.
It's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone.
My parents went to see it. They didn't like it.
Yeah. It's okay. Nothing wrong with your parents. I've always said that. And I've always said that.
I don't care what anyone else says.
I've always said. I actually think they're all right.
Those are all the emails we have for today. Thank you very much for those, guys. Thank you very much, guys, for sending those in. As ever, if you have any thoughts on recent releases that you'd like to send in to the show, email them into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
Send them into Tracy Island.
Thunderbirds are go.
Thunderbirds are go.
James, should we end with a game?
Let's do it.
James, as ever, Pulp Kitchen ends
with a game.
With a proper game. We have a game that I thought up today. I beep, bopped, booped, and put it into my laptop.
I love that.
Here it is, right with me. James, in honor of the fact that we talked about Paradise earlier with James Marsden playing a fictional US president and not at all influenced by the fact that there might be that there currently is a new recent person in the White House. I have drawn up a list of actors who have played fictional US presidents in films.
Love it. Okay.
And here's how it's going to work.
Yep.
I'm going to name the actor.
Yes.
And you have to tell me in which film do they play
the president.
The president.
Oh, I love it. Okay,
so
great.
I don't need the president's name or anything like that. You just tell me the film in which they play a fictional president.
Okay, let's do it. Oh, God, I've got presidents racking through my brain.
Yeah. I hear decree. James, guess the movie from its fictional president.
Okay.
I'm going to name the actor, and you have to tell me which film they played a fictional president in.
Okay.
George Clooney.
In Ides of March.
No, he's a presidential candidate. But you're...
what's he president in?
It's a silly film.
No.
It's Spy Kids 3.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's right.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Billy Bob Thornton is the president in Love Actually.
Correct. Stephen Colbert.
Stephen Colbert plays the president in a film?
Voice of.
No, go on.
Monsters vs. Aliens.
Oh, okay, great.
Harrison Ford.
In what it would be the... Oh my God, what's it called when it's the crash one, right?
It doesn't crash, but it's before that. It's in...
I can't remember the name of the film.
Air Force One.
Air Force One.
But also, give it a few weeks and you could have also said Captain America Brave New World.
Yeah.
James Caan.
James Caan plays the president in...
Get Smart.
Oh, okay.
Bill Pullman.
Remind me who Bill Pullman is again?
Not Bill Paxton.
No, I know. Is it Independence Day?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's literally the only thing I could tell you,
Yeah,
but it's the answer to the... Nick Offerman.
What's he been the president in? I know this. Oh, it's a recent film.
Yes.
It's a film I like. What was it? I can't remember.
President behaving badly.
Oh, God. No, what was it?
Civil War.
Ah, yes.
Aaron Eckhart.
Is the president in? Oh, it's so close. What's he the president? Go on.
He needed saving by a famous Scottish actor.
It's Olympus Has Fallen.
Olympus
Yeah,
has
London
fallen, and London has fallen.
Yeah.
And Morgan Freeman was president in...
Morgan Freeman is president in...
Well, let me tell you, James, he was the vice president in those films, so he's the president in...
Olympus Has Fallen.
No,
London Has Fallen.
London has fallen.
Oh, right. Okay,
I see.
yeah.
He's
London.
the vice president in the other one.
Gotcha.
I assume something happens to Aaron Eckhart. I have no idea. Danny Glover.
Oh, yeah, I can picture it. What film is that? No, go on.
That's 2012.
Yes, nice.
William Hurt.
William Hurt.
In a film that we both really like, underrated, that we stand up. It's from 2008, and we go, you know what? Good movie.
No, go on.
That's Vantage Point.
Yeah, we do like that vantage point, yeah.
Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen.
From The Naked Gun.
In Scary Movie 3.
And 4,
And
correct. 2 more. Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman plays the president.
I don't think you've seen this film.
No, go on.
Mars Attacks.
Oh, okay.
And lastly, Tim Robbins. Are you suggesting we blow up the moon? Would you miss it? Would you miss it?
I can't remember.
That is Austin Powers 2. He plays the president in the 60s. And
You got to play a president as like a career highlight. That's got to be fun.
yeah. And you're slick. And obviously I wasn't including actors who have played factual presidents. I wasn't including, anyone who's in The Butler.
Favorite president?
Favorite fictional president?
Favorite, film president.
Oh,
I like Bill Pullman. I see
yeah.
in my dreams.
Oh, and obviously this is film. I haven't included
We're
The
going to
West
live
Wing or anything like that.
We're going to survive.
Why is he?
I don't know. He's got a really raspy.
Why are you doing it
He's
like
got
he's
a
like he's Littlefinger from Game of Thrones.
Watch the trailer for the awful sequel for Independence Day. He's like, they're coming back. I see them in my dreams.
I think Clooney's a good show. Like Clooney should do another presidential.
He should just be president. Really, that's all everyone's saying.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The coffee. Be amazing. Can you imagine going into the Oval
Espresso.
Office? He'd be like,
just got a
it's
little
got the
sleek
espresso.
Nespresso.
Yeah, a presidential seal branded Nespresso
Fred
machine.
Sirius is just in the corner giggling, holding a teacup.
Are they mates? Do they hang out together? What is that? What's the connection there?
I'm sure it's all money based. They both do Nespresso ads.
Does Fred Sirius do Nespresso?
Yeah, they've both got that. Oh, no, is it Fred? No, so Fred Sirius does a separate one. There's another one with the guy who was in The Artist.
Jean Dujardin.
Yes, he's in an ad with George Clooney.
You confused Oscar winner Jean Dujardin.
But I wonder if Fred Sirius has done a espresso ad.
I don't know if it was just in America, but maybe it wasn't Nespresso, but John Krasinski and Steve Carell did one together. Maybe it was Lavazza they did. You love coffee. You should know this.
So Fred Sirius is partnered with Law coffee capsules, not Nespresso. I'd say the slightly lower budget.
Hey, we'll still drink it. Guys, that was the fictional presence. That was the game for this week. Thank you very much for joining us for this bumper episode of Pulp Kitchen. But do not despair, because there is more content coming this week. Because later this week, James, what have you done?
We're going to be talking about Emilia Perez. I've finally seen it. We're just going to catch up on what the hell is going on with Emilia Perez.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Yeah.
And also, we've got Double Take. Don't forget to check out Double Take.
Fantastic Four trailer. We reacted to that.
A little bit of just touching temperature on the Oscar race at the moment.
Daisy Ridley Star Wars film appearing to have a new lease of life.
Buffy has been rebooted.
It actually
has.
Right, okay.
So check that out. If you subscribe to Patreon, you'll get access to that exclusive show, Double Take, which is where we talk about all the latest film news.
New episodes every single Wednesday. Go on our social media to see antics from things like Sundance, fun little film bites we do with celebrity guests, and more. It's great.
Thank you to our producers, as ever, Finn and Dave. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
And just hope everyone's well. Stay well, stay good, stay hopeful. Keep going to the cinema, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Pulp Kitchen.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye.